My 32M wife, 32F, and I have been growing distant since kids and she seems okay with it. Context: my wife and I have been married for 7 years and we have a 2.5-year-old and a 1-year-old. My wife's greatest joy is being a mother. I work full-time so she can stay at home with the kids. I work an office job from 8-5 and since COVID have been working at home. That means that I usually get 5-8 as time with the kids and after bedtime as time with my wife, providing we don't have any other plans. The problem comes is that I will put one of my sons down for bed and it will take 30-45 minutes based on their mood. My wife will put one down and take an hour and a half to 2 hours. She'll lay down with them in their beds, fall asleep, etc. This leaves me alone most nights to do whatever. I'm an introvert so most of the time I don't mind, but after a while it can make me feel very alone. I'll do the dishes, take out the trash, clean up the toys, but I usually end up going to bed alone. I've expressed this to my wife and she always says things like, "Sorry I made you feel that way. This is only for a small season of our lives," or she'll try and give examples of when we did talk in passing or when the kids were playing. I understand that life with kids is chaos. I understand that we won't have as much time with each other as we once did. I understand this is only for a season and I understand that kids' needs are over my needs. But where the rub comes in is when I feel like I've expressed this concern, I feel like it's not taken seriously or ignored. Most nights, probably 4 or 5 a week, I am left alone until my wife comes out of my son's room and then falls asleep after 20-30 minutes of trying to watch a show. We don't have hardly any time to connect emotionally or physically. I feel alone in my own house. I feel like a maid that pays the bills, and worst of all, my wife seems to be okay with it. This has been going on since we've had kids and I'm at the end of my rope. I feel like an asshole wanting her to take time away from our kids to connect to me, but I don't know what else to do. I'll admit that after the 3-4 night in a row of her staying in their room for over an hour, if she comes out and tries to act like nothing is wrong and watch a show, I'm cold to her. I know I shouldn't be, but I am upset and I can't just act like everything is alright. I have to process things and can't just push them down to make sure we have a good night. Am I being dramatic, overreacting? Anyone else had similar experiences to this? She feels like I'm taking something personal that isn't personal. Too long did not read. Wife and I only have 20-30 minutes together every night and I want more time to connect. She feels like I'm overacting and I feel alone. I've experienced exactly this with my wife and have some advice, brother. Date night. Pick a place. Maybe a picnic if you're really concerned about social distancing. Pick a time, set up a babysitter, and take your wife out. Couples need time together, period. Kids get in the way of that. She loves you. Don't take it so personally. Men and women often have different perspectives on the same situations. She may appreciate it, realize what she'd been missing, and work a little harder at carving out time for two of you. That's been my experience at least. Good luck, man. She probably needs some alone time after being with the kids all day. You're not wrong to be concerned, but she also has a point about the small season of your lives. For me, I get to see my wife alone for a couple hours in the evenings, but she's either cranky or half asleep for most of it. One really good thing we started doing is getting a babysitter every Saturday evening for a couple of hours so we could go on a date. Is there any way you could make that happen? Is it always the same child? Switch kids. If that's her style of putting either child down, then you both need to examine why it takes so long. It is not healthy the way you two are going. Already resentment is building. My husband and I were in a very similar situation. I can't stress enough to really talk to your wife about your feelings. I was the same as your wife. My husband told me he felt similar as you do now. I didn't take him seriously and thought it was just a short time, it will be fine. Well, it wasn't fine. I just found out that he had an affair for 3 years. He felt so pushed aside, he stepped outside our marriage to get his needs met, and now we are on the verge of divorce. Really make it obvious to her how concerned you are. I wish I had listened better. All the best to you. I just recently stopped being a stay-at-home mom to my 3-year-old and 11-month-old because of how draining it is, and I was so depressed and anxious. Me and my fiancé would just fight because I was so overwhelmed that I didn't want to be touched or kissed, although my feelings never changed for him. It takes a toll on you physically and mentally. Maybe try to give her alone time. Take the kids for a car ride, or to your parents or something, and leave her alone for an hour. Or let her go somewhere and be her own person, it will refresh her. I think regardless of occupation, everyone needs that sometimes. Good luck. Great comments in this thread so far. Just commenting to boost and say you sound like a sweet husband. I hope you both work this out. Letting this continue will breed long-term resentment. Your wife is right in that this will not last forever, but it may last long enough to irrevocably change your marriage in ways neither of you are prepared for. Other posters have suggested a date night which will allow you to spend time together away from the kids. My niece loves sleepovers, once a night every few weeks with me, and that gives her parents time together. Would that be possible for your kids with your extended family? And the bedtime routines. Can they be shortened? So all I'm hearing is your wants and needs, and how much work you want to add to your wife's plate when she's obviously exhausted. Then she makes an effort to spend time with you and you're cold to her? Dude, come on. You work, she raises the kids, after work you sit and she's still raising the kids. If you want her to be less tired, maybe start involving yourself in bedtime routine and eventually take it over. Give her a break from the constant needs of children. As a Som, I can tell you she wants to give you the love and attention you want. But she has to take care of the kids first, and that is an energy suck like you don't even believe. Not in a bad way, just takes a ton of energy. You want more of that energy for yourself, you have to start taking from her plate. I, 20, found pictures of my sister, 14, on my boyfriend's 20 phone. This is my first Reddit post. I'm trying to follow the rules. I'm going to try to keep this vague because I don't want people I know finding this. It's just very late and I need advice or just a listening ear. Or anything I can get at this point. I have no idea what to do and I feel like I'm going insane. My boyfriend fell asleep while watching YouTube and I couldn't sleep due to stress. I'm moving out soon, completely unrelated to the story, and not for any reason pertaining to my boyfriend. I picked up his phone to turn off YouTube and saw his Photos app open, and IDKY, but I looked. He doesn't take a lot of photos, and usually forgets to share the ones of us together with me. I didn't expect what I found. There were 2 pictures of my sister, from behind, from a day she and I had been hanging out. My boyfriend was around that day. I was in one of the photos, but both were from the waist down. I was very confused. They look like intentional photos. I went to his deleted folder and found about a couple photos of his dog, some random screenshots, and about a half dozen or so more photos of my sister from that day, my 14-year-old sister, and all of them were centered on her butt. Some were very zoomed in. I was horrified. I woke him up immediately and confronted him. He claims he had accidentally taken a bunch of photos that day, and deleted them because they were just from accidentally pressing the buttons while wandering around and taking photos of his dog. I'm sick to my stomach. He got extremely angry for not trusting him and accusing him of something like that. He says he respects my sister and would never do something like that to her, and that he didn't hide his phone and I know his password. He's in another room for the night, and I've been awake for the last few hours. He texted me saying he understands why I'm upset, but that he's heard I don't trust him. And asked if I want to break up. I just asked him again for an explanation. He again said they were accidental. I don't know what to. Obviously I want to believe him. I would have never imagined he would do something like this. I am fiercely protective of my siblings, he knows this. I just have no idea what my next step should be. I don't move out for a week. I don't know if I should tell my parents. I deleted all the pictures of her off of his phone. But what do I do now? They were only of her butt, like no other random other pictures? Kinda hard to believe every time his phone accidentally took a picture it was aimed at your sister's butt. Edit. And he didn't delete too? Sounds like he had a favorites. Oh, these are definitely done on purpose. Can't have that many accidental photos aimed at that spot on your sister. LMAO. If you believe photos that were zoomed in and centered on your minor sister's ass were accidental, I've got a bridge I'd like to sell ya. That's some straight bullshit. Him acting hurt like that is something gaslighters do to confuse the people who catch them doing shady shit. You should absolutely inform your parents. You should also leave him, and the people in his immediate family should probably be informed of that kind of behavior so they can intervene if they see anything else fucked up going on. What a piece of shit. Report him and leave. How can a zoomed picture could have been taken by mistake? Most of the times pictures taken by mistake are blurred. How were they? A dozen of picture taken by mistake from the waist down. I don't believe it. How is his behavior with her? Did you notice something? A behavior change when she is with you too? That's creepy AF. Keep him away from your sister. This guy is a creeper pedo. You know it in your heart. Don't risk your sister for some guy. Get him gone today. Effing accidental my ass. Why the F does he still have them in his phone if they were accidental and probably not all from the same date? This is child P0 and must be reported to not only the police but you must inform your parents. Disgusting. That's how I feel about your dirty boyfriend. Your sister will not only feel that too but also feel violated. My partner doesn't want our child but didn't mind caring for a child that's not his. Hello. My partner 25 male, and I, 23F, met on Tinder. I know, but some people actually find great people. I am a single mother of one, who was in school and working full-time. I had been alone for so long that I had fallen into a type of pattern. When I met him, he took me to places I'd never been, and we would study together at his house, until it was time to pick up my daughter. For a while, I had no intention of her meeting him. I thought it was too soon, but one day he FaceTimed me and she popped her head into the camera. She took to him instantly. They talked for hours on the phone, and that's without me. I still had no intention of introducing them. But the phone was a nice beginning. What I didn't know was that I would be kicked out of my home and forced to move in with him a few months later. When I say forced, I mean begged. I was in a domestic violence situation with a family member. They gave me all types of bruises, all while in front of my daughter. I packed up that night ready to just leave. When he found out about it, he begged me to come live with him. So I did. I know it might sound stupid, but he offered and I didn't know anywhere else I could go that's close to home, school, and my job. Fast forward a few months, after dancing in the rain and vacations and loving each other. After telling me he wanted me safe and that he would never hurt me. He was the best to my daughter. We had minor problems but overall we were happy. I end up pregnant. Before we talked about how we didn't want kids and how I would get an abortion if it happened. We had the talk, but when the time came, I couldn't go through with it. He told me I betrayed his trust for lying to him. I cried and cried. I was so hurt by his words. Soon his actions towards me would change too. Now I am 12 weeks pregnant and we've both said hurtful things since. He seems to hate me more day by day. But for some reason this baby just wants me to love him, and most of our arguments are just trying to get him to realize the pain and hardship he's causing. He thinks that I am ruining his academic chances at his prestigious school at Emory by having the baby and asking him to step up. He says that since I kept it, I should take on the most responsibility. It hurts honestly. He's completely changed. I just need advice on how to handle this. At this point I am just broken down and I can't handle it. Too long did not read. Partner thinks I'm ruining his life by keeping our child. I understand he is hurt, but he's hurting me to no return. Just need some advice. Do I go to counseling and try to fix it or give up and give him what he wants? So you had agreed you didn't want kids and you're mad that he stuck to what he told you? He hasn't changed, you have. I can't but side with him on this one. You're being selfish and broke his trust. You agreed on something and now you're doing a 180. Congrats on being a single mom of two. I'm still stuck on you allowing your very small child to talk to a stranger on the phone for hours without you. What does a grown man have to say to a small kid for hours? That's bizarre. Also, he told you right up front who he was. He didn't want his own kids. You changed, not him. Totally understood that you've changed your mind, but he hasn't. This relationship is over. It's your body, and your choice, and people forget how hard abortion is even if someone is pro-choice. But you're acting like all of this is sudden and unexpected. You two had an agreement and even discussed what would happen beforehand, and you did a 180. He even gave an option of you keeping it but taking the most responsibility because he has school. I'm not sure what advice you want. You need to stop acting like a victim of undue circumstances, weigh your choices and options. It sounds like you're going to resent him if you have an abortion, and if you keep it you're not happy with taking more responsibility. Another option is adoption. Another is breaking up. You agreed to have an abortion if you fell pregnant and pulled a 180 on him. He communicated that he did not want a child. It is very possible if you have this child that you will be a single mother of two. He did nothing wrong, and is right that you should take on majority if not all of the responsibility. He doesn't want to be on the hook for the rest of his life, which is what would happen with a child of his own. That's the difference. It's your body, but what you did to him is extremely shitty. You both agreed that you don't want kids and that you'll have an abortion if you ever get pregnant. Now you've done a complete 180 and want to force him to be a father. If you want to have this baby then that's your choice, but you don't get to try to force him to be a father to a baby that he always told you he didn't want. You don't get to force him to be happy or to stay with you. Enjoy being a single mother of two. As someone who is staunch CF, I have no pity for you. I'd rather die than have a kid. BC he can give it back. Do I confront my wife about her vibrator? Hey Reddit. Alt here for obvious reasons. I've, 29M. Been with my wife, 27F, for 8 years, and married the last 3. Our sex life started off on fire, she was pretty freaky and wanted it constantly, but as usual it had died off to a once a month, pity sex, that I always have to initiate. She has had a few health issues that she has had in the past that I know caused some of this, but all of those have become managed now to a great degree. About a year ago a vibrator magically shows up in the bedroom. I kind of laughed about it and I don't really care. But it is now to the point where it seems like she is using it 4-5x per week at night. She goes to bed before me. She's claimed a low sex drive in the past, but now I'm confused because if you have a low sex drive, why the need to get off 5x per week? I'm honestly hurt beyond words. I don't have any definitive proof she's been using it, but she does leave it out in the open and it doesn't just move locations on its own. I've been really trying hard to troubleshoot our sex life and relationship issues, and everything she has told me to fix, I have. I've somewhat been trying to see if she is cheating or if she just prefers the vibrator 100% over me. Last night it was basically confirmed that it's the vibrator as I made sure to see the location of the vibrator before I went to watch TV. I heard her go to the bathroom after about 30 minutes and sure enough, I went back to bed and it had moved. Honestly I couldn't care less that she is enjoying herself. It's just really hurtful to be rejected constantly by your wife for a lack of sexual interest than she does sexual stuff. I know if I bought a flashlight and used it she would be devastated, which at this point as hard as it is to say, I've debated doing since nothing I've done has gotten through to her that it hurts. I don't want to hurt my wife, but I also can't keep going on getting hurt. Any thoughts? I'm sorry if this was hard to follow. Reddit app doesn't allow very fast text input and it kept lagging behind and I'd lose train of thought quickly. I'm just really upset by this and it's getting me to a pretty dark place really quickly. I'm just worried her vibrator is destroying our marriage. The vibrator is a red herring. The problem isn't that she likes using a vibrator, it's that she doesn't want to have sex with you. That's what needs to be addressed. I use a vibrator most days and still want to fuck my boyfriend. Sometimes do both at the same time. There's a deeper issue in your relationship that needs to be resolved. I think the issue for your wife probably lies outside of the bedroom with you. Maybe you need to initiate couples counseling and figure out what her actual issues are in the relationship. Try to work on them. As a woman I know I have been guilty of leaning away from my partner and using toys when I felt he neglected me in the bedroom and sex was pretty much just getting him off. Also using a vibrator is quick and easy. Maybe she is looking for a release and it's not sexual tension. I really think you need to dig a bit deeper on this one though. Edit. Not saying it's OP's fault, just that he needs to talk to her and figure out what's really going on. Well, this is our relationship_advice, so I am guessing it's going to be deemed your fault. Man loses sex drive, his issue. Woman loses sex drive, his fault. Don't mention the vibrator. Instead, go to bed together. And have a serious conversation about your sex life. But not while in bed or right after she turns you down. It's really no different than any other situation involving masturbation. Generally speaking, it's fine. If it's negatively impacting your sex life though, you need to talk about it. So sit down and have a long talk about all of this and see if there's any compromise to be had. Even consider couples or sex therapy. But it's clear this isn't sustainable, so it can't be ignored. Per your own admission, if on your end it was endless, be it manually or with a fleshlight, she'd be upset about it. So don't be afraid to talk about it. Good luck. I don't think confronting would be useful. Having been married for 15 years before my wife's untimely death taught me that the better course is to talk about your own feelings and how you feel rejected, neglected, whatever. Clearly, evidenced by your post, there is stuff happening outside of the bedroom that needs addressed. Good luck. She wants the use of a vibrator than making love with you? WTF, talk to her. If this is really hurting you and you allow it to fester, you will start resenting her and everything will fall apart.